Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to do the house on the Marsh. This is known as motif number 2, very popular painting in Essex, Mass. All right, let's begin with the sky. It's a beautiful salmon color, little yellow with just a drop of cadmium red in there, and then a little wash of cobalt blue across the top. And while we have the cobalt blue, we'll do the paint the water, the first coat on the water, painting around the house. We really don't have to, you could paint through that house, but you want to get a first coat of blue on the water. The house is darker than the reflection of the sky, so that'll work. All right, let's bring that down. A little stronger color in the sky. That's raw sienna I'm putting across, and a little touch of red just to get that salmon color back. I like that. And then I'm going to go all the way down with, this is raw sienna, and this is the underpainting for the Marsh. The Marsh is very bright. There's a lot of sun on it, so we want to be aware of that. That's raw sienna. We'll just paint the whole Marsh with the raw sienna, bring it right down to where it meets the water. Now we'll put the green. This is phthalo green. I have a little bit of raw sienna in it just to strengthen it, but we're going to make it brighter as we go along here. But just a wash of the phthalo green over the raw sienna. And then a little bit darker as it turns down. I'm using more raw sienna just to get that little dark edge on it. Okay, and then we'll put the green, a darker green. We'll get that dark edge on there. You want that marsh to really turn down into the water here. So we'll put some dark. There's sort of a cut in there with some. I just mixed up some dark black there, sort of a blackish color, and added some raw sienna to it. All right, I'm going to put a little more blue in the sky. I just want a little more action up there. This is just cobalt blue, bringing it down. Make sure you soften all the edges. Clouds have soft edges always, okay? Bring that down, put a strip here, okay? Just get a little action up in the sky. You won't even notice any of this when the painting's done. This will all just go so far in the background, but it does set a mood. All right, mixed up some gray. That's raw sienna with cobalt blue and a little bit of rose. Use those 3 colors, and you should master them because that's where you get the grays. I'm going to paint the whole building with the gray, and while we have it, we might as well paint the reflection. You can make that a little bit darker if you want. Reflections usually, light reflections are darker. Dark reflections are lighter than the object. So I'll speed these up for you a little bit because there's a lot to it. And you've painted trees many times. Leave plenty of sky holes. I'm starting at the top with a lighter green. It's always lighter because there's less leaves and less bulk up there, and there's more light. And as you come down into the heavy part of the tree, obviously there's less light getting through, so it's darker, and there's more bulk down there. So that's a ultramarine blue with a little bit of yellow. The top is cobalt blue with a little bit of yellow. And I'm snapping some yellow in here because there's actually a tree in front of the other big tree. I'm putting a little raw sienna across there. Create a little backdrop. All right, and then very dark here. These are the trees in the back of the house here. I'm using the ultramarine with a little bit of raw sienna And you can add a little yellow if you want to brighten it up. Okay, you've done this many times. Top of the tree is brighter, a little bit of yellow in there. That pushes the house forward. A little brighter edge on the top there. And you can see through the porch here. You can see those trees in the back, so just color that in. That whole thing. All right, we have a vine actually growing up the side of the house on the right here. So it's you can see I'm using a brighter yellow and a little raw sienna and a little bit of cobalt blue there. All right, this is phthalo green, Windsor green, and I'm just putting a wash across the whole lawn here, the whole marsh, to brighten it up a little bit. Very bright sun on there. All right, we'll get into the house here. I'm using a little flat brush here, and that makes it really easy to paint in between all those posts that are on the porch. You can see that porch hanging off the side of the house. And it's all in shadow. So I just mixed up a warmer gray, same colors, raw sienna. You can start with either one of them, but raw sienna, cobalt blue, and then rose, and mix them. And if it gets a little too greenish or whatever, you can always use the complement of that color to get back to the gray. All right, so we'll go across. These are all leaving the porch, the poles in the porch. If you're doing a lot of windows or anything square like that, it makes your life so much easier. All right, double hung windows. All right, one on the top, one on the bottom. Leave a little space. All right, you got 3 windows on the right here. All right, the roof is also gray. So again, cobalt blue and rose will give you a violet, and the complement of violet is yellow, so that's the raw sienna. So those 3 colors. The more paint and less water will be the darker, make it darker. Okay. All right. And there's another roof on the overhang of the porch. So I just did it all the same color. And now there's a railing there. You can see the way I'm painting this. I'm just going along, bopping up and down with the brush. All right, there's the reflection of the trees in the water. So what I do here is basically paint the shape of the reflection. The trees in the water here, and I moved it up so we can get a better look at it. And once you get it painted, and then there's a reflection of the marsh down at the bottom there. So that's phthalo green, and then I'm adding some raw sienna over that to dull it down. I'm letting it all kind of run down, you know, just let it run right down in a mix with a couple of horizontal strokes there. And so this is the house. I'm basically painting the house again in upside down, you know, as a reflection. So just, you know, you can paint it exactly the same way, a little bit darker, or you can paint it, you know, the same way and then put a wash of blue over it or something. But we'll get it all in, and then we'll paint the edges with some ripples going through it. Okay, there's the roof. The windows, the side of the house. There's a couple of chimneys there. Cad red with a little blue in it, reflecting. All right, you can see I'm just doing these little horizontal strokes, breaking up the edges. So there's no hard edges here. All the edges are moving with the water, so you get that shaky look to it, and that's what those little horizontal strokes are doing to it. And it creates a sense of movement. Okay, there's a reflection of the marsh. On the left here, I'm putting a shadow and some disturbed grass there on the left of the house, just to break up a little bit of that green marsh. Okay, some shrubbery growing against the house here. It breaks up that line and really sits the house down, which is nice. Okay. All right, it's coming along. We'll put a wash of cobalt blue in the water here. It's just reflecting the sky, and I'm putting a little up into the house, and just to create some movement. That's a Windsor blue, and I'm just loosening up the edges. That'll dry very light, so you don't have to really worry about it. Okay? Yeah. So we're pretty much done here. Okay, so here's the finished painting. A little bit of little touch up here and there, but that's basically it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for joining me. I will see you again very soon.